Warning. Sorry, hang on. I feel like in saying that, you'll already be scared to listen and you won't listen. So just stop. I've started already, but I just want to cut that off and man, such a horrible start. Okay, so I'm warning you about something, but it's not like a warning where you should think, oh my God, I can't listen to this podcast. It's going to be offensive or bad that's okay. So that was a bad warning. The warning was bad. The warning is, I'm warning you about something. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not warning you about something you need to be warned about in the sense that it's a warning. But that doesn't make any sense. What crap. What I'm trying to say is some autistic people like me aren't great fans of change, right? Whether it's like food or brands or whatever, okay? And when it changes, it all goes to crap. Okay, and I acknowledge that. I'm just letting you know, okay, the exact same voiceover guy, a good friend of mine, okay? My brother, unofficially, of course, a good friend of mine, Digby Gillings, who does all my, you hear him talk when he introduces me, right? He's done new stuff. It's still him, same person, same voice, same music, just done new stuff. Okay, so when you hear stuff in the podcast, it's going to sound a little bit different, but you haven't come to the wrong podcast. It's still me. It's still Digby doing the same voiceover. It's still me, Orion, that autistic guy. It's the same damn podcast. It's just sounds a little bit different. God forbid I'd update and refresh from time to time. Yeah, so that's the warning.
Welcome to My Friend Autism, a podcast providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones, with more than a few passionate rants thrown in for good measure. And now, here's your host, that autistic guy, Orion Kelly.
Now, that wasn't so bad, was it? Was that so bad? Thanks, Diggers. Sounds awesome. Welcome, my stars of Orion. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and support for autistic people and their loved ones. And this is my podcast, My Friend Autism, a video podcast you can watch on my dedicated video podcast YouTube channel, Orion Kelly Podcast, or listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. In other words, ball's in your court. You do the work if you're just going to listen to me and not watch me. Reverse pervert. I don't know what that means. Oh, man. All right. I think that's a compliment, frankly. Thank you for sticking through the warning. I really wanted to. And by the way, it's not a joke. Like when things change on my favorite show or different things, it really agitates me. So I wanted to make sure, same voice, same music, just a few different words here and there. Okay, just a nice little update. So I hope it's okay. If it isn't, I don't care. All right, we are going to talk about an area of research that is now suggesting that inflammation in the brain and mast cell activation could actually play an important role in autism. Mast cells and autism. But given the climate, especially the political climate of America, which just ripples through the world at the moment with autism, is this just another attempt to cure autism? And more importantly, what in the world is a mast cell? Okay, let's do this. So basically there's new research, and it's looking into the role of mast cells, which is a key part of our immune system, in brain inflammation and autism. Now, sure, this could be promising, but also raises some serious questions. So let's talk about the science behind mast cells and autism. Question 1. What are mast cells? I'm glad you asked. Mast cells are a type of immune cell that helps protect your body from infections and injuries. I learned this in medical school, if you're wondering. I didn't. I just looked it up. Chill out. Okay, mast cells are like guards. They're stationed throughout your body, including your gut, your skin, your brain. Mast cells release chemicals like histamine. If you've ever taken an antihistamine, right, you know what I'm talking about, histamine. And okay, here we go. Welcome back to Orion mispronounces things and has extreme anxiety. I'll say it first. my attempt, then I'll spell it. Cytokines. Cytokines, cytokines, histamine and cytokine, whatever you want to call it, guys, when triggered. So it releases chemicals like histamine and cytokines when triggered. Okay, now these chemicals are important in allergic reactions. Like we talked about, you might take an antihistamine for hay fever, for grass pollen allergies and that kind of stuff. I do. But see, they also affect inflammation and communication between the gut and the brain. Now, in autistic people, mast cells may overreact to certain triggers. Things like stress, infections, even the very popular at the moment, environmental toxins. Not that I'm saying there aren't environmental toxins. Of course there bloody is, right? Okay, and what happens? In autistic people, the mast cells could overreact to these things like stress and infections and toxins. And what happens? It causes inflammation in the brain. So whether this is good, bad, amazing, useless, fad, science, fiction, fact, Mars bar, Snickers, you see what I'm saying? Whether it is or isn't it bloody fascinating? I hope you all got the reference. Like in Australia, you get your chocolate bars in Australia and you got your Mars bar, my favourite, and then you got your Snickers bar, which is like a Mars bar but we've got nuts in it. And that's more Conan, my autistic son's favourite. He likes the Snickers, I like the Mars bar. Hugo, he's a crunchy, violet crumble, honeycomb chocolate kind of dude. Yeah, where everyone's different. Warning, Orion will talk about chocolate bars. Okay, let's get to the connection. Let's explore how these mast cells and their activation. Mast cells, activate! Connects to autism. How good is this? How fascinating is brain inflammation? No, I'm not making jokes here. No, seriously, listen. Okay, so brain inflammation in ASD. So autism spectrum disorder, or as I like to call it, autism. It just really has a good ring to it. And now, inflammation in the brain, often called neuroinflammation. Oh, is that right? Okay, so what's happened? He seems to have I can't talk. He seems to have inflammation in his brain. Does he? Really? Okay, what are you going to call that? Well, I just did. I said he's got a brain and there's inflammation in his brain. Yeah, no, you can't call it that. Why is that? Inflammation in the brain. It's 4 words. Yeah, okay, 4 words. Now, it's got to be one. It's got to be one? Why's it got to be one? That's what they always, that's the thing. Oh, right, okay, so we can't say inflammation in the brain. We've got to change it to one word. Okay, cool. Brain inflammation? No, that sounds like a band. And what's wrong with that? Nothing. Let's just call it neuroinflammation. Okay. Neuroinflammation, or in my opinion, inflammation in the brain, apparently is a common finding in autistic people. Studies show that certain chemicals linked to inflammation are higher in the brains and spinal fluid of autistic people. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that a minority, a group of disabled people in society have somehow given science their brain and spinal fluids. I'm happy to hear that. I'm certain that was consent, informed consent, and I'm certain it didn't ever include parents just giving the go-ahead without asking the autistic person. I'm certain that's the case. All right, cool. So these chemicals can come from mast cells or, here we go again. Stand by, my friends. Microglia, is it? Or microglia? MICROGLIA. You know what? Get stuffed. You do the podcast, mate. Another type of brain immune cell. So microglia, whatever works for you. Apples, bananas. You see what I'm saying? Another type of brain immune cell, both of which may be overactive in ASD. So, the chemicals that come from mast cells may well be overactive in autistic people. So that's the start of the exploration with brain inflammation. Neuroinflammation. All right, let's talk about allergies. Now, okay, I'm going to start with me. I swear to you, I have so many unexplained allergic-like symptoms. Does this happen as an autistic person? It's like you have a reaction and you might even get tested and it's completely clear. Many autistic people have symptoms that seem like allergies. This could be you. So you might get skin rashes. You might have, like me, digestive problems. You may even have food sensitivities. Again, this is like me. Okay, so you don't have an allergy to dairy, right? But if you have too much, it really affects your gut, okay? Or too much wheat or gluten. See what I'm saying? Or too much pollen in the air. Most days, fine. Too much. It's fascinating to me. I don't know why I find this so fascinating, but isn't it? Autistic people have symptoms that seem like allergies, skin rashes, digestive problems, food sensitivities, but they don't always test positive for those allergies. Well, research suggests these symptoms might come from mast cells being activated in non-allergic ways. Again, the main activation triggers, stress, even certain foods. See, I told you this was fascinating. Doesn't mean it's right, but it's fascinating. This could actually help explain why traditional allergy treatments don't often work for autistic people. I mean, is your mind being blown here or not? One of my favorite things to talk about is the gut-brain connection. And the first thing is because it's a thing. The gut and the brain are closely linked. This is science. It's called the gut-brain axis. Now, think about it like this is profound. Think about it like this. What makes you autistic? Your brain. That's it. You have an autistic brain, a different brain. Okay. If you have a different brain, A, does that mean you have a different gut? No. Or B, does that mean that your gut-brain connection will be different to non-autistic people? Yes. But did you hear what I just said? Your gut-brain connection may not even be a thing that the science world, the medical world, even understand, even acknowledge, even realize. And you wonder why you can have gastrointestinal issues. So mast cells in the gut, they can release chemicals that actually make the lining of the intestines, okay? What they do is the mast cells in the gut release chemicals to make the lining of the intestines leaky. This is a word. I'm not making it up. It's like leaky. They make them leaky. So that allows, and that's not good, by the way. That allows more harmful substances to escape into the bloodstream and reach the brain. So the mast cells in the gut release chemicals that, unfortunately, because the gut-brain connection, can actually make the lining of the intestines leaky, and therefore some harmful stuff can get into the bloodstream and reach the brain. So this leaky gut could play a role in worsening behaviors and sensory issues in autistic people by triggering inflammation in the brain. Remember, autistic people are triggered as a brain response. So all the stimuli, sensory stuff, actually any trigger. Autistic people are triggered in all manner of ways. Kids at school, people at work, home, wherever. Okay, but see, that's all. The result is a manifestation of the autistic brain being triggered and then having uncontrollable responses. So you have to think about it like that. if the leaky gut is escaping through the bloodstream, getting to the brain, triggering inflammation potentially, how does that impact your ability to stay regulated? It makes it even harder. I told you this is fascinating. You think I'm done? I'm not done. Frankly, I haven't even got to more of the research, but this is something I want to talk about. And it's controversial only if, I guess it's controversial only if you want it to be. For me, I'm just talking about some stuff. Not right or wrong, just talking about some stuff, according to the mast cell studies. Stress during pregnancy and early life. Now, that line alone pisses me off. You can't catch or acquire autism early in your life. Yeah, you're born with it or you're not. Nevertheless, the research talks about stress during pregnancy, including high levels of a stress hormone called CRH. That can activate mast cells, not in the pregnant woman's brain, but in the baby's developing brain. Stress during pregnancy, including high levels of a stress hormone, can activate mast cells in the baby's developing brain. Now, this might disrupt brain development. And here's the thing that's not my words. I'm giving you insight into the research and the science, and then we can talk about it from my perspective. And what it says is, yep, it might disrupt brain development, but also it might increase the risk of autism in the unborn baby. Also says babies born prematurely, or those exposed to stress in early life, also seem to have a higher risk of autism, possibly because their gut and brain barriers are not fully developed, making them more vulnerable to toxins and inflammations. Okay, so the preemie baby stuff, I can at least understand where they're coming from. Okay, so if babies are born prematurely, they're saying it hasn't run its course. The development hasn't run its course, and there's a higher risk. Okay, because the gut and the brain not being fully developed or for whatever reason, and then premature, also depends on how premature, right? Okay. But then this other stuff, exposed to stress in early life. Now, I guess my question would be, and it doesn't say, my question would be, what do they define early life as? Do they define early life as still, though, what's the word, in utero, in the womb, whatever? Is that early life? Because if that's what you mean, fine. If you mean once you're born, then that's not fine. Okay. Take a breather. You can do this. Now, the research also says, and this is, again, great assault, studies have shown that kids with conditions involving overactive mast cells are much more likely to be autistic compared to the general population. Okay. Studies have shown kids with conditions involving overactive mast cells, so kids with overactive mast cells and conditions that come from that, are most likely autistic. More autistic kids and general population kids have that issue. In autistic children, researchers have found higher levels of mast cell-related markers. Here we go again. And you can watch me have a stroke. Mitochondrial DNA. I think mitochondrial DNA. I think I got it right. Which can cause inflammation. Environmental factors. Here we go. Air pollution, heavy metals, infections may act as triggers for mast cell activation, especially in kids with a genetic predisposition to inflammation. Oh, man, some heavy stuff there, I'll tell you. I just want to go back real quick and just go through some of this. Okay. There's some heavy stuff there, right? Okay. Brain inflammation in ASD. It's a common finding in autistic people. Unexplained allergy-like symptoms. Again, common finding in autistic people. Why? Could that be mast cells and inflammation? Gut-brain connection. Well, we've got some leaky intestines there, and we've got all sorts of crap going into the bloodstream in the brain. Leaky gut. Inflammation. The pregnancy one is probably one of the, well, you could say it's alarmist, or you could say it's sobering. Either way, you could say it's advice that really can't hurt. As in, okay, I'm pregnant, or I'm thinking of getting pregnant. Not me. I mean, like, I'm talking as as like, you know what? Forget about it. A lady is pregnant, and she decides, now I know I'm going to do everything I can to make this as stress-free as possible, as peaceful and stress-free a pregnancy as possible. Now, you could just roll it all together and just say, hey, if you get stressed during pregnancy, guess what? Autistic kid. Ta-da! That's obviously complete rubbish. Now, the research talks about its so-called benefits. How could the research help autistic people? So let's just go through what it says and then we can critique. All right. Targeting mast cells to reduce inflammation. The research says to help autistic people, natural compounds, again with the words I can't say. I see them coming and I panic. Natural compounds like quercetin and lutein, potentially, have been shown to calm down mast cells in lab studies. They calmed down the mast cells. Hey, mast cells. Shh, 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 shh. Calm down. These substances could reduce inflammation in the brain and gut, potentially improving symptoms of autism. That's what it says. Symptoms of autism. That's what it says. All right, another one. Preventing problems during pregnancy. All right, so how can the research help autistic people? According to the research, lowering stress and inflammation during pregnancy might help protect the baby's brain development. This could include managing maternal anxiety, reducing exposure to toxins, and ensuring proper prenatal care. Okay. Protecting the brain's defenses. Listen to this one, because this is another way the research says the mast cell stuff could help autistic people. The blood-brain barrier, let's just call it BBB, acts like a shield, preventing harmful substances from reaching the brain. Mast cell activation can make the BBB, do you remember what that's called again? It's called the blood-brain barrier. Can make the BBB leaky. We're back to the leaky. We're back to the leaky. Autistic people are just bloody leakers. You're leaking like a sieve, mate. They can make the BBB leaky. What happens then? Inflammation. What do? Medications or supplements that protect the BBB. Have you forgotten already? It's the it's the blood-brain barrier, mate. Okay. So supplements, medication that protect that could reduce brain inflammation in autism. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Put them in the comments. I want to hear them. I'd like to hear them. I can't hear them right now, but I mean, I want to. Actually, I can't ever hear them. I can read them. I want to see them. What's your thoughts? Because, okay, so if there's things that can make life better for us, I guess we don't push back on them, but then what's the intention here? So while the mast cell theory may well provide exciting angles on research in the autism field, which, by the way, is just a dog's breakfast, mate. I mean, autism research, mad as a cut snake. I mean, honestly and truly, it's got a long way to go. Okay, so it's great. It might be exciting. Great. Thanks, mast cells, for brightening up the research vibe. It's also important to consider alternate perspectives and also limitations. Correlation versus causation. So just because mast cells and inflammation are linked to autism doesn't mean they're a cause. It's possible they're a result of another underlying process and not the root cause. For instance, increased inflammation may well be a byproduct of stress, infections, or other immune system disruptions commonly seen in autistic people. Diverse causes of autism, another argument to think about. Go ahead and people always, see, this is the thing. When people think about autism, they think about autism as in there's one autism. One autism. And by the way, the simplest of examples can rule this out when you think about it. Oh, is there one type of paralysis? In other words, people that use wheelchairs, and there's different types, is there one type? Like, are they all the same? So, right? Oh, they all have feeling from the waist up? Oh, they all have feeling from the chest up? Oh, they all have feeling from the neck up? You see what I'm saying? No, there's not one type. Right? There's a spectrum of paralysis. There's a spectrum of hearing impairment, a spectrum of vision impairment. Hello? Autism is a spectrum. And you know what, guys? It's in the goddamn name. It's the second word. Autism spectrum. It's the second word. I mean, how can medical healthcare professionals treat it like it's one presentation, but then say, yes, I'm looking at diagnosing you with autism spectrum disorder, then forget what spectrum means? Autism is a condition that varies greatly between each person. You've heard the old saying, you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, and if you met one autistic person, and if you've met four of them, you've met four autistic people. I think I missed the spirit of that, probably because I'm just not a big fan of it. Just like, oh, that's right, you've met one dog, and what does that mean? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's you've met one football coach, you've met one football coach. That's okay. What did you think I meant? Did you think if I said I've met my nan or my grandma, did you think that I thought that meant that all nans and grandmas like my grandma or my nan? I didn't think that in the first place. But so, what are you trying to say? If you've met your grandma, you've met your grandma. Well, that's a factual statement, but really you've just repeated the sentence twice is what I always found fascinating about that. And this is classic autism. Here I am pulling apart and trying to work out and argue and crap on something that's supposed to help autistic people. But frankly, I don't know. It's never been a thing of mine. If you've woken up one day, you've woken up one day. Yes, okay. And if you've met one person on the spectrum, you've met one person on the spectrum. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? If you've eaten breakfast, you've eaten breakfast. I mean, I'm sorry. Autism is spectrum, all right? Now, what might be true for a subgroup, so I'm talking about those with mast cell hypersensitivity, may not apply at all to every other autistic person. We've got genetic factors. We've got brain development differences, environmental triggers. They're all involved. So focusing too much on one pathway oversimplifies the complexities of being autistic, of autism spectrum. How about lack of large-scale studies? Most studies linking mast cells and autism are small or observational. Many studies rely on markers of inflammation or, this is the worst one, parent-reported symptoms. Now, I'm a parent of an autistic kid, so chill out. What I'm saying is autistic people with research to help their life don't want it to be reliant on the experiences of the parents. Parents can report things, but where's it coming from? It's not about the parent. So just chill out, because I'm a parent of an autistic kid, so chill out. it can be subjective, and it can be inconsistent. And frankly, it can be flawed. It can be tainted. It just is what it, I'm sorry, but it can. Now let's talk about the idea of treatment or cure, because it's very clear. There's not many times in the research or the studies around mast cells that it doesn't talk about treatment of the symptoms, right? Okay, so the idea of treatment or cure. This is complex. This is controversial. We're talking about this regarding autism and autistic people. Now, before I go on, I just want to say this. I've noticed this recently, especially with the political stuff in America around autism in the year 2025. When I recorded this podcast, I don't know when you're listening to it. Hello from the future. Sorry, strike that. Hello from the past. But here's the thing. I've noticed this. I'm an autistic person, and at no stage did I say my life's amazing. I didn't. But I don't think anyone's life is amazing. Everyone's life is good and bad. That's life, right? Life isn't about one thing. I mean, if anyone tells you that it's supposed to be one thing, they're just lying to you. Life is hard. Life has joy. Life has sorrow. Life is hard. That's the point of survival. Life is hard. Okay, so I'm not asking for someone to fix me. I'm not asking for treatment or cure. That's not, and by the way, if the only thing about me is autistic is my brain, so and your brain is in effect really you. Well, your brain, your personality doesn't come from your feet, right? Like who you are doesn't come from your guts. Your brain is relatively important. You're treating that, curing that, fixing that. Well, I'm dead, or who am I? I don't know. Probably nothing. So you say that, and then suddenly, whoa! I could have the crap beaten out of me virtually. I mean, on social platforms by so-called allies, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. I mean, by the way, you know, like I'm an ally. What do you mean? Oh, I'm nice to autistic people, and yeah, okay. Do you realize there's countries that have actually fought each other in wars previously, who now class themselves as allies? I'm not too sure. There's a lot of I'm good for you, mate. I mean, but okay, these people will say, "Shut up, Orion. I've got an autistic child or an autistic kid who's an adult now. They'll never have anything. They'll never live anything. They'll never enjoy life." What do you mean they don't, you don't even know what it's like to have autism. So what do you know about not wanting a treatment or a cure or make things easier? I never said anything about not making things easier. I said my life isn't easy, but I'm not expecting it to be easy. And sure, I'm not a moron. But you're talking about two different things. I'm talking about, of course, I'm open to making life easier. What does that mean, Orion? Well, pretty much like you could use a car instead of walking, make your life easier. Like, okay, that's cool. You could go to the shops, buy food that you eat. You could live in a house. That makes life easier. I'm open to all these things. But see, you think making life easier is curing them of their autism. You think that's the problem I'm hearing. That doesn't make any sense. I've got an autistic child who's an adult who will never live a normal life. You don't know what it's like being autistic. Of course, I want RFK to cure them and treat them. And what do you mean? You mean you want them? You want your autistic child gone? Is what you're saying? So this argument I hate. So the treatment cure thing seems to be a heated argument now, a really politicized argument, and it's bloody stupid. Bloody stupid. I mean, if we've got a condition and there are ways we can work out that can make our life easier, of course. But there's a difference between that and a treatment. You can't treat autism. You can't cure autism. It's not a disease. So, okay, some treatments try to address quality of life or medical symptoms, mostly of co-occurring conditions. But the concept of treatment is problematic. I'll give you several reasons. Many autistic people see autism as an inherent part of them, as who they are. They're autistic, so they don't have autism. Oh, I don't want to say that to my child. I'll label them. That your child has a school bag. Right? Your child has a pair of shoes. Your child is autistic. It's their brain. This is my son, and he has a brain. Right? I'm pretty sure all the kids here do. It's part of our identity. It's who we are, right? We don't want it fixed. There's no fixing it or we're dead. They argue efforts to treat autism risk erasing their unique way of experiencing the world. That would be how I would explain one of the key pillars of this. Members of the autistic community may argue that treating autism, is your way of erasing us, or your way of saying, we don't like how you experience the world. We don't want you to experience the world like that anymore. Makes us uncomfortable. We're going to stop it. Yeah, how would you look at that? How would you look at that? So it's the brain. It's like a sterilization of the brain, basically, right? A state-funded. It's fascinating, these types of arguments. I mean, I'm just talking about what they are, but then when you actually get into them, that's a whole other kettle of fish. Neurodiversity. Let's talk about the neurodiversity movement. So a movement that promotes the idea that neurological differences are simply part of humanity, part of diversity. In other words, an autistic brain and a non-autistic brain create neurodiversity. Sometimes I hear autistic people say they are neurodiverse. That is not correct. One thing doesn't create diversity. If you have apples and bananas, you have diversity of fruit. If you just have apples, that's not diversity of fruit. This is the same with farming, agriculture. This is the same with not putting all your eggs in one basket. So in other words, investments. This is the same in employment, whether it's race, gender, neurodiversity, right? That is how you create diversity. So if you're an autistic person, you could refer to yourself as neurodivergent or autistic. But the movement isn't about, this is the thing, people get it wrong. People think, oh, the movement's all about you guys. No. The movement of neurodiversity is actually saying, hey guys, we don't need to be cured. It's not a disease in the first place. You can't cure us. But guess what? This is humanity. You've got a non-autistic brain. I've got an autistic brain. Put that together. We've got some neurodiversity. Good things are going to happen. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on accepting that, including that. Let's support that. Let's focus on the win. What's better about diversity? Well, if you look at every part of life that I just mentioned, diversity is what keeps us alive. Agriculture, and the planning of things, the resources of things, investments, all these types of things. Diversity is what keeps us alive, what keeps us going. So the neurodiversity movement isn't about us. It's about trying to explain to people who aren't us that when you put us together, good things happen. Life is better. Can we look into that? But we're still forced to justify our very existence. And let's talk about some harmful practices in the past. This is a clear argument. So many autistic people are wary, historically, of treatments. Oh, why would that be? Harmful and unethical practices throughout history with autism and the autistic community. Aversive therapies, forced normalization, experimental cues. Did I say cues? I meant cures. You know what I'm saying. It's littered. History is littered with harmful and unethical practices throughout time for autism and autistic people. So new things come along. What do you think is going through our mind? Oh, here we go again. And by the way, 2025 hasn't changed the minds of autistic people. It hasn't changed. It's got worse. Another example is a focus on compliance over authenticity, right? So some behavioral therapies are criticized because they prioritize making autistic people non-autistic, fit in to neurotypical standards. So it's not about our differences being a good thing, it's about it being bad. This is dehumanizing. It's actually dismissive of a human's natural way of being. And there isn't a different level of human rights just because you're autistic. Individualized needs. Again, not going to go back through this argument. We know it now. Autism is a spectrum. So not every autistic person experiences the same challenges. Individual challenges, individual strengths. Some, we can have severe co-occurring medical conditions, issues. Others may have less, minimal, none. They might not ever need interventions. Blanket treatments, they're inappropriate. They see autism as a one-size-fits-all problem with a one-size-fits-all fix. Unique abilities. Autistic people are often proud of being autistic. They say, because I'm an autistic person with an autistic brain, this is why I'm this kind of creative, or I have this kind of focus, or I'm this kind of uniquely good at this gift or skill, coding, problem solving, working with animals, whatever it is. And here's the worst part. Yes, autistic people often worry that any treatments aimed at changing the way they are, which is the core point of treatments from a neurotypical world, could actually kill them. They'll still be alive, but the person they are is gone. Does that make sense? It dulls the autistic brain into oblivion, and that's that. Everything about their identity, their strengths, their skills, their loves, their passions, they would all be gone. What makes them them is lost forever. I just can't say some words today. Pathologizing traits. This is the argument. So autistic people can view traits like intensity of focus, sensory sensitivities, as advantages. Now, sure, they're still tricky and challenging, but in the right context, an intensity of focus, passions, interests, sensory sensitivities can actually be seen as advantages in life. But society frames these as pure deficits. That's the key word. If you want to be autistic, you need to fill out the checklist of deficits. Focus on accommodations over treatment. Instead of trying to actually change autistic people, why can't we just work on making society more accommodating? Is that really that hard? Autonomy and self-advocacy. How good are allies, by the way? Autistic people often emphasize the importance of autonomy in deciding whether they want treatments. What's helpful for one person might not be for another. Autistic people have said, we want the autonomy, the freedom to decide what things we want to try, what we want to do. You got to look at the medical and the social model and the needs too, right? So autistic community members, what's the best way of putting this? Okay, so many autistic people, their support treatments are for medical conditions that are co-occurring. Things like, could be epilepsy, anxiety, gastrointestinal problems. This is what we acknowledge. The treatments, the medical supports we're getting aren't for autism. They're for co-occurring conditions. There's a clear line we've drawn. I'm not coming here to help with my autism. You're not treating my autism here. It doesn't need intervention. These things are we're talking about social needs versus medical needs. You have to see the difference. And look, probably the last thing I'd say is who actually defines this, by the way? Who defines treatment? Most autistic people would probably argue that most decisions about treatments are made by non-autistic people. These can be researchers, clinicians, parents, politicians, whoever. But what they're usually never is decisions or definitions made by autistic people. Who defines treatment? Not you. Who's the treatment for? You. What? Autistic voices aren't just required. They have to be compulsory in shaping the future priorities and policies of supporting autistic people.
My Friend Autism with Orion Kelly. Join our community on the socials by following Orion Kelly on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. You know what? He's on all of them, so go find him.
Now, autism manifests in so many different ways, and it's really hard to navigate through. So I've got some playlists on my primary YouTube channel, Orion Kelly, that you should go and check out. Got autism diagnosis for adults, and also I've got co-occurring conditions, so it'll help you navigate through that forest of diagnosis and co-occurring conditions. And once again, thank you so much for supporting this little podcast of mine. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to My Friend Autism with Orion Kelly. To binge all the episodes, check out the YouTube channel or grab a copy of his book. Visit orionkelly.com.au. Thanks again, and see you soon.